It's MC Monty in the place to be. Welcome to the adventures of MC Monty. This month's theme, Ahsoka Tano. Yeah. In this video, I'll be going over how I made all of the soft pieces, all of the clothes for Ahsoka Tano's cosplay. We're going to get right into the tutorial. As usual, everything you need is listed in the description below. Gather your supplies and let's get to it. To make the pants, I created this harem pants pattern. You can use a pattern for harem pants that you already have, or you can buy my patterns listed in the description below on my Etsy page. So I just cut out a front and back of the harem pants pattern of this gray stretchy material. And now I'm going to create 1-inch pleats. As you see, I'm using the measuring tape so I can lay the pleats and measure them in proper order. I did the left side and the right side. And now I'm using a stretch stitch for this stretchy fabric. I'm using a knit needle as well, because this fabric is very light and stretchy, so you need the proper needle. So I pinned all of the pleats into place, and now I'm going to sew each of the pleats into place so that they stay. So this is me sewing all the pleats into place. I did this for the front and the back of the pants. I did 3 pleats on each side. I did 3 1-inch pleats on each side. And now I'm going to line up the front and back so that I can sew down the side of the leg. Now I'm sewing elastic into the ankle. So I sewed elastic into the bottom of the pants leg, then I folded it over and sewed the hem. Next, I'm going to close the pants leg, so I'm sewing the inside of the pants leg now. So I'm just sewing up the inside of the pants leg all the way around the crotch and to the other side. Next, I'm going to put elastic in the waistband. So after I cut my waistband to the size I needed and sewed it together, I'm going to pin it into place so that I can sew the waistband into the pants. Now that the waistband is all prepped and ready to go, I'm just taking it back to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew the waistband closed. I did a fold over waistband, as you can see. I'm just taking my time to make sure the fabric lays correctly. Next, I created an obi pattern that looks like this shape, and I'm gonna cut it out of the same gray fabric as the pants and also black fabric for a liner. So I laid the liner on top of the gray fabric, and I'm gonna sew this together and flip it inside out. So I just sewed along the top and the side and the bottom, and I didn't sew close the first side so that I can flip it inside out when it's done. So I sewed the top, and now I'm sewing the side. I'm gonna rotate and sew the bottom, and then I'll leave this side open so I can flip it inside out. I just need a little bit of an opening, enough to get the fabric to flip, and then I closed the little opening that I left. Then I finished the obi by doing a top stitch along the edge of the seam so everything stays into place. The base of Ahsoka's top is a tank top. So to make the front and the back of the tank top, so to make the pattern, I folded the tank top in half. I folded the tank top in half and traced the pattern. I did the same thing for the back, and then I made this swoop to look like the back of Ahsoka's top. This is the pattern for the vest. I just traced the front of a t-shirt and then subtracted an inch from the center line. For the tunic top, for the tunic front, I'm using the pattern that I already have, that I used before to make a Star Wars costume. And this is the band that goes with it. I have to cut 2 of these bands, so I'm gonna flip this and cut 2. If you don't have your own pattern for a Star Wars tunic, you can use the pattern that I created for this Ahsoka cosplay. Now I'm putting my pattern into place, and I'm going to cut it out of this gray suiting fabric. It's a sports suit type of fabric. So this will be the tunic, and now I'm cutting out the bands for the tunic. So I need 2 bands for the tunic, so I'll cut those out of the same gray sports suiting fabric. Next, I'm going to hem the arm opening of the tunic. So I'm hemming both sides, the arm opening closed. Hem that all nice and finished. I hem the arm openings for the front of the tank top as well, and the back of the tank top. So I do all the hems for the armpits. Now I'm doing the neckline and the armpits for the front of the tank top. Hem everything. After everything is hemmed, I'm gonna lay my items into place and sew everything together at the shoulder seam. Make sure you lay the fabric in this order. First, you lay down the back of the tank top. On top of that, you put the front opening of the vest. On top of that, you put the front openings of the tunic. And then finally, you layer the front of the tank top. So take notice of the order that I laid all the items down in. So with that order in mind, I'm now going to sew all of the parts closed at the shoulder line. So I'm sewing all the shoulders together, starting with the back of the tank top and the opening of the vest, and then sewing that to the shoulder of the tunic, the opening of the front of the tunic. And then finally, I'm layering the tank top the front of the tank top onto that and sewing that into place as well. Now after all the pieces are sewn together at the shoulder, I'm going to sew the side closed. Now I'm prepping the fabric by pinning down the side, pinning everything together, and then I'm going to sew the side of the garment closed. Next, I'm ironing the bands, and I'm going to sew the bands together at the back. So this creates a seam at the back of the neck. And then I'm going to sew this onto the tunic. I like to start from the center and work my way down one side, and then flip it over and work my way down the other side, so that I know it's centered and gonna stay in place and not gonna shift on me. So I'm sewing the band to the tunic, to the front of the tunic. So using that same sport suiting fabric, I cut out the hip guard. I cut out 2 for the hip guard as well as a lining. I pinned my pattern into place and then I cut it out. For the top, I'm using the gray suit fabric, and for the lining, I'm using a thick fleece sweatpants style fabric. And then I just sewed a lining over a black lining on the edges. I used bias tape. Next, I used my chalk to draw this pattern onto the hip guard, and then I stitched the pattern with the sewing machine. And the final result looks like this. Then Dana made their own beads using this picture as a reference, and bought beads from the craft store and strung them all together. And there you have it, one step closer to completing your Ahsoka Tano cosplay. Leave me a comment, let me know how you did. Let me know if this video was helpful. If you like this tutorial, hit that like button, give me that thumbs up, hit that subscribe and that bell so you get notified anytime I post a new video tutorial. Always remember, adventure awaits. So get out into the world and explore. And I'll see you next time. Peace.